What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Nickel City Rush Hour, Sunday edition. I got my good friends here, Mr. Podger, Jake Podger, my co-host for coming up on 3 years. This I think it is September. Going to be hitting 3 years. It's September or June, Jake. It's our 3 year anniversary. And then I got
Awesome.
Mr. Sean Kula. Nobody cooler than this man, although he's going with the name Nick Wright drinks hot dog water. All right, little long-winded there, but guys, I got to say something to you. We've been doing this podcast thing wrong, obviously. Um, what we should be doing is reacting to what players, coaches, GMs say to the media, especially when it comes to our Buffalo Bills. Keep it simple, put out reaction shows, and call it a day. I mean, we put so much time into our shows each week, right? And it's like these guys, they just get a reaction from somebody, a comment from somebody, and they make shows of it. And I'm talking some of these bigger media outlets. And we're going to be talking about two of them. One of them, of course, is the here. What's this one? What's this first one here? That's the what happened?
Brett says, thanks for the invite. I don't know. We might have to bring him on. I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
I don't know. 4 people's a bit much. That's what I told Sean. First things first, this is what the Nick Wright, Kevin Wilds, and Chris Broussard. And we're going to be hearing all the juicy stuff that they had to say. And let me set the stage here, first of all. 4 days ago on a Yahoo Sports podcast with Jason Fitz, Jason asked Josh, do you guys feel any Super Bowl window pressure internally? And let me play what Josh had to say here. Give me a second. And let me make sure this volume's loud enough for everybody. Here we go. This is what Josh's answer was to that question.
Our mindset, though, every time we step on the field, every year is, in our opinion, it's Super Bowl or bust. And anything that you do from here on out, it has to be in hopes of winning a Super Bowl.
I mean, pretty straightforward, Jake. I mean, how does that answer to that question stir up all this interest from these big media outlets? And I'm talking media outlets that combined have over 1 million subscribers. These two shows together, the ones that both of them did, over 100,000 views. And Jake, I know you've played sports. Sean's played sports. Whether you've played chess, soccer, you're competitive. You go into a season, and especially if you're an elite talent like Josh Allen and a team that's been competitive over the past 4 years, what else do you expect them to say, Jake?
Right. So I think there's two sides of it. It's like, so Josh Allen is a top 2 quarterback in the NFL. But then the other side of it is like, hey, your GM may or may have not set you up to play, I guess a 17-game schedule, but are you going to win 11, 12 games? We don't really know if that's going to be the case. I still think it is, but like as the quarterback, you have to say, you got to give them the sound bites, right? Like you're still going to say like, yeah, every year is a Super Bowl contending year, right? But it is like, you got to look between the lines as well. Like you have to understand like, hey, this is a different team, obviously. Like it's a retooling year, if you will. To me, I still think we are a 12-win team. And I know that's like in the minority, but also I just feel like having Josh Allen alone right now at 28 years old, like he's a Hall of Fame quarterback in his prime. So I still think it is a Super Bowl or bust year. And I'm with him on this. Like, if I'm Josh, I'm like, absolutely. I take offense to that question almost. Like, why would you even say it's not even a Super Bowl year? Like, I'm the number 2 quarterback in the NFL, and I'm going to be number 1 once I beat Pat Mahomes and the AFC Championship or whatever it is, right? So, like, that's where I'm at right now. And I know the media likes to make this a much bigger thing than it is. But to me, the Buffalo Bills are a Super Bowl or bust team. And I know that might be going against the grain, but that's just who they are, in my opinion, with Josh Allen as the quarterback. He'll win you 8 games alone, plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, whether you are or not a Super Bowl team, I mean, Josh feels like this team is still capable of doing such. So you got to go into the season saying that. Why would you not? I mean, I don't know, even teams that are not gonna win a Super Bowl, as long as you're not like one of those 2-14 teams, you always got to shoot high for the stars and hope you hit the moon. Sean, anything? I mean, are you expecting Josh to say anything less than what he just said right there?
I mean, no, and honestly, if you asked all 32 starting quarterbacks, I mean, I didn't watch the interview and like the setting and how the questions were coming by, but even if you asked like Bryce Young and Drake May, hey, do you feel like it's Super Bowl or bust? I'm sure all of them would say, oh yeah, I think we could absolutely do that, or that's always the goal. Nobody's gonna say like, yeah, you know what? I think we're just gonna aim for 5 wins, 6 wins this year. We had 2
Right.
last year.
Yeah, why would you? Right.
Yes, I don't think even Bryce Young, coming off a 1-15 or 2-14, 15 season, would say, "Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we could do that right now." Even if he didn't think that they could, which they probably can't, he would say that that's the goal. We want to win. We want to compete. So to try to slander a professional athlete who just wants to win because maybe other people don't think they can win is just it's really silly to me. Because like I said, in any profession, any sport, whether you're playing sports or not, just in a normal job field, like for me, I have a cleaning business. I want to be the best in the area, also the best in the whole country if I could be that. So would it be stupid? Would people think it's stupid to say, "Oh yeah, why would you want to be the best at that?" Like you're not that yet, so why would you want to be known as that? Like that's just it's called having goals and aspirations. So, and we also got to remember the people that are going against what he's saying, and then you start to understand what it's really all about. So, I don't think he
Yeah.
said anything. I don't think he said anything that a competitive person wouldn't say.
Yeah, I mean, you see Josh saying, "Oh, you know what? We may be a
4
playoff
wins.
team.
4 wins.
I'm not sure. Super Bowl definitely out of the picture." What does that say to his teammates, his coaches, the organization? Come on, man. Are you kidding me? So let's continue this here. Chris Broussard is the first one to speak. He has some good things to say, but he kind of says something like, "I'm gonna stop it and just see how he tripped over his feet here." Let's go.
Okay. He didn't say S, Bob, but he
did. He just said the whole thing. He said Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah. So, Brew, your reaction to Super Bowl or bust?
Real quick, S Bob. You're going to hear that a couple times. It tripped me up. I had to look at the caption. I'm like, what are they saying? They're just abbreviating Super Bowl or bust. So if you hear S Bob, they say it a couple times. That's what it is. Because it was tripping me up. I'm like, what the hell are they saying?
Lazy.
First of all, I love what he said.
Really?
Absolutely. If you're a top 3 or 4 quarterback in the league in your prime on a team that's made the playoffs the last 5 years, you should be thinking every year we got to win the Super Bowl. We can win the Super Bowl, right? So I'm not talking about a guy on a bad team, that's just getting started or whatever. He should think that every single year. Now, the problem is when I look at what they've done this offseason, Jordan Poyer gone, Gabe Davis gone, obviously Stephon Diggs, Tre'Davious White, like they've let so many guys go that it looks to me like the front office has done what I would call like a soft rebuild, where we're not like fully going to the bottom, but it seems like they're acknowledging we'll take a little step back. I feel like if they win 12 games, and win a playoff game.
Let me stop right there. If they win 12 games, we're all ecstatic. We're like, this is probably a second seed. We're like, this team's legit. They've proven with that hard schedule that we have, 12 wins and we win a playoff game. I mean, what are they smoking here? I saw you go off mute there, Sean. You got something to say about that?
Oh no, I didn't know if you were gonna throw it to us yet. But
all right.
If you want me to say something, I definitely could.
Well, let me let him finish up, but I had to catch him right there. I'm like,
sure.
12 wins, Jake?
Right?
I mean, you even said it. You still think we can get to 12 wins.
I've been clamoring 12 wins.
I know. Yes. So if we get there, this team's for real. I mean, if you looked at their schedule, I'm gonna call him Chris. They call him Brew. I'll call him Brew because I feel like we're friends now. That's what they call him on the show. So I'm gonna call him Brew. Brew, if we get to 12 wins, man, I'm sorry. This is a team that's legit and is competing for a Super Bowl. And S-Bob, Super Bowl or bust. So let me finish this and I'll throw it to you, Sean.
Play well in another one and lose. the front office will feel good about it and think, okay, next year we're
So
going to
they're
make
not
another
SBA.
move.
So he just basically says the front office will be okay if we don't get to the Super Bowl because, all the changes that were had. I mean, I don't totally disagree, but Sean, what do you got to say there? So talk about what Brew had to say here.
Well, like you said, he started off good. Saying, being a top 3 or 4 or 5 quarterback in the league, you should always think Super Bowl or bust. Absolutely agree. But then, like I kind of told you earlier, like these people, they get paid so much money to talk about sports, but then they don't actually understand or research what they're talking about. So they always have to bring up Tre'Davious White. Tre'Davious White hasn't played football for us minus like 3 games in 2 years. He wasn't there in the 13-second game. Von Miller wasn't there in the 13-second game. He wasn't there for majority of our big moments, and we did fine without him. So throwing a guy like Tre'Davious White in there or Jordan Poyer, who you could really see the decline, especially last year, and we're getting younger and probably more talented to say things like, "Oh, the front office is basically giving up because you got rid of older guys." To me, that doesn't make any sense. Um, and then, like you said, mentioning, you got getting a 12 wins and winning a playoff game. That's more than some people have gotten in a decade. Like, when was the last time the Jets won 12 games?
Yeah.
When was the last time? When was that last time the Dolphins won a playoff game, or the Jets won a playoff
99.
game? Just to name,
Yeah.
just to name the people in our division. But we have to categorize, like, when people talk about this, what is what's a great season or what's a good season, because only one team can win the Super Bowl. So if you're judging teams' success only on if you win a Super Bowl or not, then 31 teams are awful compared to the one. So yeah, he wasn't too bad with what he said. It's just, it seems like he's just saying stuff like, oh, they should be saying that, but then goes back and basically says, oh, they got no shot at doing any of that. So again, don't know where he's coming from with that, but probably wasn't as bad as what Nick Wright's going to say.
Yeah, so Nick Wright's up next here. He's on deck. But I do want to, Jake, you're going to have to manage the comments. I can't see them today because I have to manage this audio, and it's a little tricky here on StreamYard. But who do we got out there?
So Chad's out there. He agrees with kind of what we're saying. Like, what else are you supposed to say as the leader of the football team? Like, oh, our team sucks. We're going to win 4 games this year. And then Brett said the same thing. He's like, it's kind of a lazy take to say, like, what else would you expect, more or less? So, yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with what you guys are saying. But I will say this, too. Like, the guys that Chris Broussard mentioned, he talked about, like, Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, Gabe Davis. Like, out of those 3 guys, like, Gabe Davis, I would say maybe Jordan Poyer is probably the most impactful of those 3. Like, Gabe was on or off every game. And then Tre'Davious White really didn't play football a whole lot for the Buffalo Bills in the last 2.5 seasons. So it's hard to even justify that take, just because, like, those guys have like, as good as they are, they really haven't been extreme factors in the Bills winning or losing games. And again, like, Gabe Davis was like a 50-50 guy. Like, he'd have 100 yards one game, and then the next game he'd go for no yards. So it's hard to say he even left an impact, like, in terms of, like, winning and losing football games. And even so, like, even the big games he had, I always feel like they still came up short. So when you really look at it, like, even, I mean, Jordan Poyer had a down year last year. The last 2 seasons, we've seen a bit of a drop off from him too. So you look at this football team at the end of last year, none of those guys were really factors with this Buffalo Bills team. And I know the AFC has gotten a lot better. So to me, like, you bring up those 3, it's almost like a lazy take, because it's like, did you really look at this football team last year? Like, we had Tyrell Dodson playing linebacker for us. We had Taylor Rapp, subbing in for safety. Gabe Davis, again, it's like Khalil Shakir was our best receiver at the end of the year. So it just, like, I understand the take that they're trying to present here as the national media, but I don't know if they're really looking at the full picture. So it's interesting. I mean, when you look at their takes on this, it's like those three dudes, like, while they're great, we love them. We're gonna miss them. I don't know if they're really that big of a factor in us winning 12 games this upcoming season. They're not, to me.
It gets even worse. Wait till we get to the second show, and guess who's on there? Shady McCoy. Wait to hear what he has to say. So stay around for that, because that
And
one,
Shady
like,
sticks up for us. Oh, that kills me.
let's see
I'm
if
excited to
he
hear.
does. But he
Yeah.
like, I don't think you're going to be happy from what he has to
Oh,
say.
no.
So let's go. Let's finish this up. Let's get into some Nick Wright here. Here we go.
Yeah.
Well, I think Josh Allen and Sean McDermott are S-Bob in their minds. I think the front office is not.
This is where I just think the Bills and the discussion surrounding the Bills is delusional, Wilds. I'm going to give you 3 names, and you guys tell me if you know off the top of your head what they have in common. Skylar Thompson, Mason Rudolph, Mac Jones.
Stop it right there. Anyone know what those 3 have in common? Jake, you're a trivia
we beat
guy.
them all in the playoffs.
The last 3 years. So let's roll with this.
Other than they're all backup quarterbacks now.
Quarterback. Wow.
That's the entire list of quarterbacks the Bills have beaten in the playoffs since they actually were close to a Super Bowl the year they made the AFC title game. That's it. The last 3 years have been very easy to figure out what's going on with Buffalo. They are going to either run away with or find a way to win the AFC East. They are going to play in the first round a team that is just thrilled to be there in the postseason with a quarterback who is not long to be a starter, roll them, and then get beaten by a true contender in the next round. So this idea, we like to act like this team is an A-level contender. They're not, which is why talking like this is delusional.
I got to stop right there. First of all, it's comical, the things they say. He talks about the teams we beat, and they're close games. They should be. They're playoff games. But I'm going to throw it to Sean. I mean, he doesn't talk about, he kind of does a little bit later, but he doesn't talk about the teams we lost to. They were elite teams, good teams, and we've lost to what? Pat Mahomes 3 times? So let me throw it to you, Sean.
Well, first of all, the shutdown is the argument he's trying to push before I destroy his actual argument. When you're a quarterback, you don't play against the backup quarterback, the starting quarterback. You play against defense. So it doesn't matter to me that Mason Rudolph played in that Steelers playoff game last year because that Steelers had a great defense and we put up 30-something points on them. So that alone just shows how stupid his argument is that, he only beat Skylar Thompson, only beat Mason Rudolph and whoever. But I'm going to give you a couple more names since it matters who the quarterback is and see what these guys have in common. Jimmy Garoppolo, Ryan Tannehill, Baker Mayfield, aging Ben Roethlisberger, and Trevor Lawrence. Those are all quarterbacks that Pat Mahomes beat in the playoffs.
There you go, Sean. I love that.
If you want to look at it like that, because to me, it doesn't matter. To me, you play the defense if you're the quarterback. But to go against his argument, the Bills haven't beat any good quarterbacks. Most of Mahomes' wins in the playoffs were against people who are currently backup quarterbacks who were on their way out. Like Andrew Luck was in his last year of retirement last year before he retired, his first playoff win. Deshaun Watson is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL at this point. And again, Ryan Tannehill is a backup. Jimmy Garoppolo is not on the team. Trevor Lawrence is, no one knows what Trevor Lawrence is. Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts proved to be kind of a fraud last year, right? So we can't really say that was really a great quarterback you went up against either. So if you want to use that argument, there's that. But it's just, if it was any other quarterback, like CJ Stroud, for example, he gives glowing reviews about CJ Stroud. His playoff win was against a quarterback who was the backup the entire years previous, came off the couch in an emergency situation with a number 1 defense, led him to a playoff appearance, and they beat the Browns, Joe Flacco, and then when he went to go play the Ravens, they got blown out. But you don't hear about that. So it's just proof that he shows favoritism to certain teams, hates certain players. Because then, like you said, Mike, Josh Allen's got 5 wins in the playoffs and 5 losses. 3 of those losses are to Patrick Mahomes. Some say Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback to ever play football. So if you're losing to that guy, isn't that what's supposed to happen?
Yeah.
Why is it the worst? Why does it make you terrible or delusional or not a great football team if you're losing to quote unquote the best player to ever play football with the best coach to ever coach football, best defensive coach to ever coach football, and then the team that eventually goes on to win or be in the Super Bowl every year? So we need to decide, or Nick Wright needs to decide, is Mahomes really like that? And no one else is not, like, because he said it's Mahomes and nobody's even close to his stratosphere. Everyone else is beneath him. So when you lose to him, why do people get criticized for that? Sure, he lost to Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson, in the playoffs before, but that's just, to me, it's what's funny to me about Nick Wright and how he tries to perpetuate his narrative about playoff wins and the Bills. So there's that.
There's also a difference between like the quarterback and like the actual team itself. Like if you look at Josh Allen's last 10 playoff games, I just pulled it up here. 27-23, 2,723 yards, 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Like this dude has played incredible playoff football. So you cannot debate that Josh Allen has, I guess, not performed in the playoffs, because he has. Like even these teams that, we mentioned, talk about that New England game, threw for 308 yards, 5 touchdowns against Mac Jones. And he was playing against that defense. And then you look at that Miami game, 352 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he threw 2 picks. But, like, still, that's enough to win you a football game, in my opinion. The Mason Rudolph game, 203 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He went 21 of 30 in that game. Like, on top of that, 8 for 74 rushing and a tutter. Like, come on. It's not Josh Allen. You could talk about the Buffalo Bills maybe, but like at the end of the day, Josh is not the problem here either. So I have a real issue with that. And I do think, you can say like it was a close game with the Dolphins and all that, but like the defense has been depleted as well. Like we've had some serious injuries, and I know every team has injury issues as the year goes on and as the playoffs come about. But man, you got to give us a little bit of credit there. Like, this dude has willed this team to wins. And by the way, he also did beat Lamar Jackson, and he beat Phillip Rivers the year before all this. So, I don't know.
I don't think he's really attacking Josh from that standpoint, because I think I cut it out, but he was saying some good things, like, he was saying, and I think he might say it. We might hear it here in a little bit. But I think he's just talking about the Bills in general. But
but he means that too, Mike.
At the end of the day,
I don't know. Right. I got Nick on the call here. Nick, we don't play against quarterbacks; we play against defenses. So get your shit together, or else we're just going. You're going to lose some subscribers to that channel. Actually, I'm not a subscriber at all, Nick. But get your stuff together, man.
But at the end of the day, just for me to wrap up on that section of what he says, at the end of the day, they're playoff games. I've never seen a team in recent history, besides Buffalo, get ostracized for winning playoff games. I never hear any other team when they're a 2 seed beating a 7 seed get told, "Oh, well, their playoff wins don't matter because they're playing a team that was lucky to be in." At the end of the day, they're all in the playoffs. These teams were good enough to be in the playoffs, and if you win a close game in the playoffs, I don't care. And if you want to say, if he mentions, you barely beat Pittsburgh, you beat them by 17, it's not that big of a deal. Well, the Chiefs beat us by 3. So if barely winning games means that you shouldn't have won the game, is he going to mention that when the Chiefs barely beat us 3 times in the playoff, or 2 out of the 3 times in the playoffs? No, he's not going to say that, because it doesn't fit the narrative to hate on the Bills. So I don't know what else he's going to say. So I guess we'll have to see.
Let's go back to a Bill Cowher quote. Like he always said, "So what if we win ugly?" Like that's like a win's a win, right? A win is a win is a win, and especially in the playoffs. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's play the rest of this here, because we got to get to some even juicier ones. But real quick, just a quick correction. I believe we beat the Steelers 31-17. We didn't score 37 on them.
That's right. Yep.
All right. let's move on. Here we go. Let's listen to the rest of this.
He didn't come out and he was asked the question, are you Super Bowl or bust? What should he have said?
You know what? We made the mistake of treating it like that last year. We literally hung a banner in our practice facility, and we started the year 5-5, had to fight to get into the playoffs. Obviously, that's everyone's goal, but right now, what I'm focused on is being better than we were last season, and it's something along those lines. It is the same thing you guys say the Cowboys need to be saying every week.
Yeah,
the Cowboys talk about it constantly. It's from the owner.
They hung a banner in the practice
and this year they got rid of it.
I am annoyed, as I always am, at the conversation surrounding this team because it has never measured up to reality. It is, again, we are going into, for the last 4 years, what is your favorite Bills playoff moment? Rolling Mac Jones? That's it? That's the only highlight, man.
No, the highlight, as you said before, is losing.
Okay, well, but then that's not a highlight. Like
playing them that tough.
Right.
That was it.
Because even the other 2 playoff games, other than one against Mac Jones, Skylar Thompson had the ball down 3 with a minute left. Remember, McDaniel kind of bungled the clock. And the Mason Rudolph game was it was a one-score game with the Steelers having the ball in the fourth quarter. It was like those.
But I think the talk around the Bills is they.
Well, real quick. So that's pretty funny. What he says there. Your favorite memory. He's not totally out of the ballpark. So what is my favorite memory in the last 4 years? It hurts, but the best game maybe of all time in the playoffs, 13-second game, right? So not totally wrong there, but come on now.
I don't know. I feel like people forget that, like, yeah, sure, Mac Jones was the quarterback, but we went 7 drives, 7 touchdowns. The only team to ever do that in like the history of football. So to me, just that it gets blown over. Oh, because it was Mac Jones. I don't know. Mac Jones played outside linebacker for the Patriots. I don't know Mac Jones played corner and safety and defensive tackle. And I don't know Mac Jones was coaching the defense and the head coach, when Bill Belichick was. So, I get it. We never won a Super Bowl. We never been to one with Josh Allen. Totally understand that what you're saying, Nick. But again, he thinks only the Chiefs can be good. Only the Chiefs can get credit. Only Chiefs players can get love and attention from outlets and other fan bases and their own fan base. So he even admitted it. It's so annoying. It's so aggravating. I don't understand. Well, they have a top 5 quarterback. They always have a top 10 defense. They're always in a position to be in the postseason, and they win playoff games. So, and like you said, it was a 1-score game up until in the fourth quarter. Well, it ended up being a 2-score game. So, and again, why are we cherry picking playoff scores? You're winning a playoff game. If we took every Chiefs playoff game that was close, would he say the same thing? Oh, when we beat Baker Mayfield in the playoffs with Chad Henne and it was close, should we have lost that game? No, he won't say that. When we beat Ryan Tannehill in the playoffs to go to the Super Bowl, are they going to bring that up because it was a close game? No, they won't, because it doesn't fit his narrative to hate on the Bills. So it's just a reoccurring theme with him. And again, like people say, he's a moron and I just don't watch him. I co-sign for that. I subscribe to that opinion, but he's going to keep saying his stuff. And just like last year, he said we were 5-5 and we had to claw back. He said when we were 5-5, there is absolutely zero chance Buffalo makes the playoffs. And then we won 6 games in a row, made the playoffs. But he didn't recant that. He didn't go back to it and say, "Oh, I was wrong." So that's just how he is.
Yeah,
Sean, you're betting 1,000 tonight, brother. I love this. Yeah, absolutely.
we gotta work on our inflections. Like, I love how Nick Wright says, "and never." We gotta start doing some of that stuff. That seems to be what works.
I know, right?
Right? We gotta get better at that, guys. But again, let's finish this one up because we got another one. So let me play the rest of this, and we'll make some comments and move on to the next show, which is even worse than this.
Are a good team, a perennial playoff team, and they have an elite quarterback. Most teams like that. People talk about them in the Super Bowl, grouping. As far as Diggs, I've said it before. They know that 5-game win streak at the end of the season, Diggs was averaging like 40 yards a game in terms of receptions, and they were fine. So I think They're going to do a lot of 12 personnel with their 2 tight ends. They're going to run the ball. And to your point, I don't know that Khalil Shakir is a number 1. I tend to think not.
No.
But they obviously like him. They drafted Keon Coleman.
That's who they're hoping.
Right. So
I think he's the guy.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they doing what you said is saying, look, this guy from college can be good enough, and whatever the other things they have and the way they're going to play is how they're going to try to approach it.
Can I ask a question quick before we move on? A lot of your and a lot of America's Bills thoughts are centered around they have arguably the second best quarterback in football, certainly a top 5 quarterback. If that's the reason for all this optimism, do you think that being a 12 personnel run the ball power team is smart? Do you think if like the whole idea behind the Bills being contenders is they have this great quarterback, but the whole idea behind their offseason, how they're building this team is we're going to run the ball more? Those two, to me, seem to be in something. The Chiefs traded away Tyreek Hill. They didn't say we're all of a sudden going to become a power running team. They were still
quarterbacks have their different strengths. He's not Patrick Mahomes, all right? Lamar Jackson, one of his huge strengths is running.
I think that's
So, Jake, what is dumb point? Well, just saying, like, you have Josh Allen top 2 quarterback, top 5 at worst. He's top 2, by the way. And saying that, they're going to use more of their offensive weapons, their running game, which was fantastic last year, and distribute the ball more. That's a bad thing. I know Sean likes to go 65, 35 pass to run.
Yeah.
But if we get more, 55, 45, nothing wrong with that, Jake, right?
Absolutely not. Football's won in the trenches. Sean will agree with that. Like,
yeah,
this is where games are won. And if you have a dynamic running back like you do in James Cook, and then you draft Ray Davis, and you have some other guys that can contribute, like Ty Johnson and maybe Frank Gore Jr., who knows? Why not use that? Like, I feel like that takes pressure off of Josh, and then it only makes him more effective. You can run some play action. You can do some other things too. Dawson Knox is going to come back healthy. Like Dalton Kincaid, I really think he's going to catch 100 passes this year. And the point about the Chiefs, like, they have multiple tight ends that they've used in the past. You talk about like Noah Gray, even what's his name from Buffalo. He's no longer even with the Chiefs. He's with another team now, but I can't even think of his name right now.
I can't.
War number 88 too. Right. Sean, who are we talking about here? I can't even.
He wore 88, but that wasn't the guy you're talking about.
He was on the Chiefs recently.
Chiefs, yeah. Chad would know.
Yeah, Chad knows.
I'm dying on this. It starts with a J. Anyways, they used a ton of their tight ends, and then you talk about some of their top receivers, like Rashee Rice, good player, but like not even a 1,000-yard receiver. Like we're not talking like. They don't have these household names at the receiver position. So to me, that's a weird take. And sure, maybe they didn't have the running game like the Bills potentially have, but like they have 3 guys they can kind of circulate in that lineup. We're talking Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so I just think that's an off take.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Jody Fortson, by the way. Jody Fortson.
Yeah,
that's
what it was.
So
went to ECC.
So yeah, let's finish this one up. I mean, what he just said to end that just doesn't make any sense at all. Like you said, Jake, the more balanced they are, the more dangerous Josh Allen's going to be.
Right.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Crazy. I was just gonna say, like, he acts like the Chiefs throw 99% of the time. They ran the ball quite a bit last year. And, just because you want to run the ball, like how many times did they say, oh, the Bills have no run game. They can't do anything in the playoffs without a run game. Now, because they want to run a little bit more, it's, now they want to run the ball. So now they're just going to be bad because they're not going to use Josh Allen enough.
How does it make you worse? Right. So that's just weird.
Right. So which one is it for them? Do the Bills need a run game or not? Because when we used to only pass the majority of the time, it was, they can never go far in the playoffs because you need a run game in January and February. Now Nick Wright's saying, now they want to run the ball with James Cook, so Josh Allen's going to become ineffective, and and the Bills are going to be worse because of it. I only agree slightly with that because I don't want to shy away from using Josh Allen's arm. I don't want to be 50-50. but I don't think he was saying it in that sense. So that's why I don't fully agree with that ending part.
Yeah.
But it's just he's so wishy-washy with his takes, and it's like he doesn't even know what he's arguing at this point anymore.
It's crazy to me. Also, Blake Bell, by the way, another tight end for you. So
There you
throw
go.
that in the mix too for the Chiefs. Yeah.
Now we're gonna hear from the Speak Show, which is backed by Fox Sports. They have 530,000 subscribers, and their hosts are Emmanuel Cho, Joy Taylor, LaShawn McCoy, Shady, and James Jones, longtime receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Before we move on to that one, Jake, I can't see the comments, but I see there's been a ton going on. Let's catch up a little bit with some folks that might have some takes.
Yeah. I actually want to bring up what my dad said earlier here. So we were talking about this early on today, and he talked to me. He's like, "Hey, I just watched a thing. CJ Stroud just said he was the number 3 quarterback in the NFL." So I love CJ Stroud. I think he's a good player. Obviously had a really good rookie year, but he didn't even have Josh in his top 5 because they asked him to rank his top 5 quarterbacks. And I think he even had like guys like Dak Prescott and I don't know, some other dudes ahead of Josh. And it's like, we might have to talk to like what's going on here? This doesn't make any sense to me. So my dad asked, he said, "Who do you think are the top 5 quarterbacks in the league?" And to me, right now, you talk about those top 5 guys. I think Pat Mahomes, you have to put at number 1 just because accolades, consistency, he's always been there, right? Number 2, I think Josh is there. He's been healthy, he's been consistent, he's won the team games. I think he's done enough to be that number 2 guy. Like, I feel like that's inarguable. And I know Joe Burrow, like, has beaten him multiple times, but, like, Joe Burrow also can't stay healthy. So there is the case, right? And on top of that, it's like you look at the amount of help that Joe Burrow has compared to Josh Allen, and it's like Josh Allen, I feel like does more for his team than Joe Burrow does for the Bengals. That's no disrespect to Joe Burrow. I think he's a great player, but like, I don't know. I just feel like that's again, it's hard to even compare the two in that sense. So to me, I would say 1 and 2 are definitely Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen. Number 3, you could maybe argue is Joe Burrow. It's hard for me to put CJ Stroud in the top 5 just because he had a really good rookie season, and then it's like once teams get film on him, maybe it'll be different next year. You just don't know.
Yeah.
I think Lamar should be like in the conversation for that.
For sure.
Like Dak
He has to
Prescott's
be.
good, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, he's MVP last year. Yes,
I think Justin Herbert's still a really good quarterback too, guys. Like I think he's top 5 worthy, but it's an interesting debate. So what do you think, Sean?
Well, yeah, I did repost my Joe Burrow, Josh Allen comparison video from 9 months ago to our Discord, but you know, in that video, I basically said I gave all these statistics for the last few years, and you know, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I was like, well, Joe Burrow's surrounding cast is twice of whatever Josh Allen ever had, and Josh Allen still puts up better stats than him every single season. So therefore, Joe Burrow has no excuse not to produce better than him. So Josh Allen's number 2 in that sense. For CJ Stroud, and we have to remember he only had 23 touchdowns. That's really not that good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. And then the second thing, every quarterback in his division got hurt. So you're beating on crap teams with backup quarterbacks. Just like Nick Wright said, Josh Allen only beats backup quarterbacks in the playoffs. So the Texans won 10 games, and 6 of their wins were against, or 5, or I don't know how many times they won a division game, but they played 6 quarterbacks that were backup quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence wasn't hurt the first time they played, but he was hurt the second time. So I think we're giving them too much credit. They did have a good surrounding cast. They did have a good defense. So I think it's a little bit too premature to put them in the top 5 because you got to do it twice. For me, like Tua for me, he had a great year last year, but because of his past, he's got to do that again for me to put him in an upper echelon of quarterback. So CJ Stroud's not in my top 5, but I think you're right. You know, without any order, Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, and Dak.
Herbert.
I put Dak in there just because, you know, I feel like he's had a lot of good seasons, and you know, Herbert could be, but that's just who I got right now. But.
Yeah.
Let me just use my best Nick Wright inflection. Never would I have a rookie quarterback in the top 5 of the NFL as far as quarterbacks go? You got to earn it. Never. So let's let's move on.
I mean,
here.
you guys remember like Cam Newton his rookie year. He set the rookie season passing record for yards in a season. And like he had a great career, don't get me wrong. Like I feel like Cam definitely is worthy of, some discussion of being a great football player throughout the 2010s, of course. But like, do I consider him a top 5 guy? I just don't know. Like, phenomenal rookie season, but it's like to follow that, like, yeah, he had an MVP and stuff like that. He did great things, but it's not a Hall of Famer in my opinion.
Right. So
and I think these other guys that we're talking about are, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. If CJ puts up 28 plus touchdowns, 4,400 plus yards, and 10 plus wins against a better division that they had this year than last year, then maybe we could talk a little bit more about like you possibly being in the top 5. But that's also dependent on the current top 5 and how they play next year. If the current top 5 plays just as good or better than they did last year, then you're still not in the top 5. So you got to do it again.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%. Anything else there, Jake? Before we move on, anything else in the comments? Anyone? I saw Jessica show up. Thanks for joining us tonight. Who else is out there that I haven't they haven't mentioned?
They're kind of beating up on some of the talk shows here. She was saying that, in my opinion, Speak is a waste of time.
Oh, they know that.
Teams did not take the Texans and CJ seriously for the first 3 quarters of the season. That's fair. Weston is here. Let's go, Weston. Love to see you out there, brother. Chad saying better late than never.
But I will say quick.
Prescott.
I don't want people to think I just think CJ Stroud's horrible. He obviously had
not at all.
He obviously looked mature and looked like he wasn't a rookie at some points. But then there was some times where he didn't put up any stats, no touchdowns. He didn't have a lot of picks, but there was games where he had no touchdowns. So like, I mean, we can't just say that he's automatically a top 5 guy just because they beat Joe Flacco in the playoffs and won a division against, teams that didn't have quarterbacks. So
I was going to say, like, use that same argument. Like, who did you beat? A 40-year-old Joe Flacco in the playoffs? Like, I love Joe Flacco. Don't get me wrong, but like, come on,
Yeah, that they were never
going to say that about Josh, right?
Yeah, they were never. The Browns are never going to do anything anyway. So cool. They got their playoff win under their belt. They got all the praise. Now they're going to be the Jaguars of last year because they won a playoff game against the Chargers. Then they got beat by Kansas City, and then everyone was like, "Oh, they're going to be in the Super Bowl next year." And then Lawrence got hurt and everything. They lost 8 games in a row or something like that, and then they missed the playoffs. So
yeah.
I saw some of the you put up a couple like take these shows with a grain of salt, and that's what I do. To me, it's comedy, it's funny, and but to some people, it really triggers them. If you go look at those comments, look, Bill's Mafia is the best fan base, the most dedicated fan base, and it really triggers a lot of them. But for me, it's just comical, and it is entertainment. That's what they're trying to bring, entertainment. And they're using, they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Producers put this together, and then they perform, and they get everybody like us talking about them, and all the comments and all the views that they're getting. So I take it with a grain of salt. I look at it like a comedy show. I want to watch this.
Yeah.
Let's get into it with Shady and the guys, because I even left. They even got me. I laughed, and I made a comment. I started commenting there. So, see, you guys, I said, you guys were funny enough to make me comment. And then Shady throwing shade. Come on, LaShawn is what I said. So let's get into that one here. So this is the show Speak. I've already said it before. They got Emmanuel Show, played linebacker in the NFL for about a season and a half. They got Joy Taylor, LaShawn McCoy, who we know very well, and James Jones, who played wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers for most of his career. I forget who the last team he played for. He played for one other team, the Raiders. All right.
Yep.
All right. So here we go. Let's listen to this Speak a little bit. Here we go.
That is outlandish. I think it's unreasonable. I think it is wildly unrealistic. But are Josh Allen's expectations too high?
So I'm gonna play it more, but he's just reacting to what I played earlier, and that's what Josh Allen said in that interview, where it's Super Bowl or bust. So let's continue, because Joy has some good things to say.
Would you like to see the list of losses? I had it.
I know we all got it. Just ran down.
This side is the red side. That's where that's the losses.
Some really good players. What's the record you got for that? What's the record? What you think? What you got going on?
The record for the Bills this year?
Yeah, you think playoffs? 10-7. These playoffs?
I think they'll make the playoffs. I hate predicting that Josh Allen will win the MVP because I've said that for a couple of years and he hasn't. But I do think that this year will be an interesting year because if he ends up having a big year, knowing all that he's lost, knowing what he is dealing with on the offensive side of the ball this year, knowing what he's going against in that division, I think he would be primed to win MVP because that's a good narrative. You are clearly the reason why they're going to win if they do. That's why I think the Super Bowl is a bit high. Now, obviously, Josh Allen is not going to come in like, we'll just be happy making the playoffs. Of course he's going to say this, and he should. And he should be aspiring to get to a Super Bowl, and so should the Bills. They've been a great team year after year after year. They just haven't been able to get over the hump, and we all think that they lost too much to get there this year. So I think our expectations can be realistic. I think there's still a playoff team. As far as getting to the Super Bowl, particularly in the AFC, I don't know if this is the year.
So Jake, she said it. If the Bills get to the playoffs, Josh Allen should be MVP. And guess what? Josh Allen will be the MVP this year. So we're finally going to get to see that. Long overdue. But what's your thoughts on what she said?
Yeah, I don't disagree with what she said. I think, obviously the losses have been highlighted so much this offseason. Like you talk about losing, your key contributors on defense, then you lose Steph Diggs. And then that's big. That's irreplaceable in a way. So I do think like Josh is going to have to do a lot this year. He's going to have to really put the team on his shoulders. But we have some really good players as well that are going to help him out. Like, I feel like they just don't give enough credit to some of the younger guys on this team. You talk about like James Cook and Dalton Kincaid. Those are the two guys on the offense, at least that come to mind for me. Defensively, we should be getting back Matt Milano. We'll have Terrell Bernard returning, coming off a really great season. A defensive line that's still really solid. Safeties that are younger, but Taylor Rapp has played really good football for the LA Rams. And then Cole Bishop has super high IQ. So I just feel like he's, this team is not getting enough credit as it is. But I do think because of that, it'll only increase Josh Allen's MVP, odds when it comes down to it. So yeah, I'm definitely with her on that. At least for that
I agree with her. I agree with what she said. If you look at it at a high level and you see all that the Bills have lost and you're on the outside looking in, she still says the Bills are a playoff team. Josh should be MVP if they get there. And the only thing she's saying is she doesn't think it's a Super Bowl year. And of course, Vegas still thinks the Bills are the fourth favorite to win the Super Bowl. But hey, I don't disagree with her opinion. Now let's turn the heat up a little bit. Here we go.
I know it's not. I know it's not. I knew it wasn't last year. The year before was last year. It's not. It's not. Bills fans, I'm not even going to attempt to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you a white lie. I'm not going to tell you a partial lie. The truth is this is likely the worst season y'all will have in the last 5 years. Now, not necessarily by win-loss record, but it is the worst season because y'all don't have hope. None? You don't have enough talent to compete. The game of football is about talent. I remember when we traded away LaShawn McCoy, traded away Deshaun Jackson, didn't re-sign Jeremy Maclin. I was like, we just don't have enough talent. And that's why Chip Kelly didn't make it through the entirety of the next season. We didn't have enough talent, y'all. Dog got to beat the other dog on the opposite side of the field, and the Bills have run out of dogs. Stephon Diggs is gone. Hopefully, Keon Coleman can step in and step up, but he gone. Poyer and Micah Hyde, they're gone. Milano coming off a knee injury. Von Miller, his Hall of Fame career resume, his Hall of Fame talent on the field, we haven't seen it in 2 years now. Tre'Davious White, he gone. Everybody's gone. Gone, all of them. Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, that's who you're depending on. 2 tight ends. Really good tight ends. Probably top 10, both of them, I would suggest, in the National Football League. But, of course, the Super Bowl expectations are too high. The window's shut. It's shut. They put drywall over it. Now, you got time. Call one of Shady's contractors. See if somebody can get rid of the drywall. There's not even a window anymore. It's drywall. And after the drywall, there's bars. So if you get rid of the drywall, there's going to be bars. And then you can see maybe the sun, a little bit of the sun outside of the glass. But it's done. It's over. It's a wrap. Bills fans, nothing against y'all. I wish y'all the greatest of success. I thought Josh was going to win MVP like Joy. I thought y'all was going to win the Super Bowl 2 years ago, not last year. I knew it was done last year, too. That's where I'm at.
So Shady's going to talk here. after that. But let's talk about that a little bit. So he says it's going to be the worst year, not with wins and losses. I mean, if it's a bad year, you're gonna have a losing record. But he's saying not with wins or losses. We have no hope. We have no hope. Sean, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of hope in this team. And I've been around long enough to see a team as talented as the Bills. Yeah, we lost a few players, but we've also gained some good players. And there is hope. So I don't know what the heck he's talking about here. What do you got to say about that, Sean?
Well, first, you skipped me over what Joy said. I just wanted to say real quick, you couldn't have said it any better than what she said, because that's kind of what, not just what I've been saying, but what most of us think. We have a good enough team to compete. Heck, we may even exceed expectation, but realistically, right now, they're a playoff team, probably win a division, win a playoff game, and that's that. And like she said, Josh Allen should be saying Super Bowl or bust. Perfect. She deserves a raise, and everyone else has been pretty trash. But to go what Acho said, first of all, behind drywall isn't bars, so I don't know where he got that from. Second of all, if anybody knows about no talent, it's Emmanuel Acho, because he had no talent. That's why he didn't last long in the NFL.
Wow.
And that's why he wasn't a starter. I know Jake says, "Oh, they're in the NFL, so they're good." It's not how it works. He's in his profession. He was bad. That's why he didn't make it in his profession. So to get to the NFL, you got to be good. But once he got there, he did not produce and he did not perform, and he had no talent enough to compete. So that's why he's not there anymore, and that's why he's commentating. But to get off his take, just the fact that he said it's going to be the worst season, not based off a win-loss record. So to me, that's just like him copping out already. So saying there's no hope, again, Mike hit on it. There's always hope, especially if you got Josh Allen at quarterback and the sustained success that we've had the last 5 years. So, and then just to go to what Jake said earlier, everyone's forgetting some of the young guys that we got. And I've been pretty vocal about, I don't think our wide receiver room is top tier or scares anybody. But we still have James Cook in the backfield. We still have a top 5 offensive line. Acho said himself, we have 2 top 10 tight ends. That can't mean nothing. Like, if you have 2 guys in the top 10 at their craft and their position, they're the 2 of the best 10 in the entire world at the sport. So that has to mean something. And I said it on our show last night. If I know it's a lot of ifs, so I'm not saying it's in concrete, but if Claypool can play like he did when he was a rookie in his sophomore year, if Curtis Samuel can produce like he did in Carolina, if Shakir can get 1,000 yards, if Dalton Kincaid can get 1,000 yards, this team looks way more different than we could have even imagined. So, like, just to say that there's no talent, I'm not even saying that. Sure, we don't have the most talent. We don't have superstars, but some of these guys have produced. Matt Collins even produced in Vegas. Sure, he's in a top 50, top 30 receiver even, but he's produced. So some of these guys, if one of Claypool, Hollins, or Samuel can produce like they've had in the past, plus if Kincaid and Cook progress like they should be, and Shakir, then this team can definitely do some damage. But I'm on the part of, for me, they got to prove it. But to sit here on a national television audience and say they have no talent, shut the door, to give up on them, that's just ridiculous.
At least he didn't say they put cement over that window. I mean, drywall. Let's face it. I mean, we're breaking.
That's fair. You can break drywall
easy.
Yes.
Now the bars a little difficult, but those bars can be pulled down easily as well. We got some strong guys on this Bills team, but
certainly,
just pretty crazy stuff. But let's go on there because this gets interesting because this is Shady. This is our guy, Shady McCoy.
Real quick, too,
Bills.
Mike.
Yeah, go ahead,
James
sir.
Payne coming in with the super chat.
James Payne, thank you.
You are the man. And I hope he doesn't mean us by saying these guys are at McDonald's. I'm assuming he's meaning them. These guys at McDonald's is sports intelligence, low knowledge, low quality, overpriced. I love that.
Hey, even if
it is us, we appreciate the donation.
Yeah,
we certainly do. This is the second week. James
I don't think he means
with a
that,
super chat. No, we appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
If you did, you can say all the bad things you want.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
If you're paying.
With minimum pay going up, I mean, it's crazy now. I go through the drive-through at McDonald's with my son, and we order 2 meals, and it's like close to $30. I'm like, what the heck happened? I remember going to McDonald's for 2 people maybe $10, maybe $11. What the heck has happened here?
Yeah. And you know what's crazy too? I'll say this real quick, Mike. So Emmanuel Acho, his
Yep.
quarterback in Philly, like he says they didn't have enough talent. Well, they also didn't really have a quarterback. Like they had Nick Foles, Mark Sanchez, and Sam Bradford. So like, what do you expect? We have Josh Allen, who's in a totally different category than
Nick Foles won a Super Bowl, buddy.
I love Nick Foles. No disrespect to him, but like this is his first stint with the Eagles too. This is before he won a Super Bowl. We're talking 2014, 2013. So a little bit different timeline. So I don't know. I just think to me, like that's just a lame take.
All right. I'm gonna play a little more video here because now we're getting into Shady. He does try to say something nice, like he's being a little positive, but you'll see how he quickly changes here. So let's get into it.
Right, I mean, but sometimes on the little cracks of the cement, though, it'd be like a little flower. No,
None of it, Shady. None of it.
Acho, you're right. He's right. I mean, what do they have there though? Josh Allen, solid offensive line, right? Hopefully the running game, you got Cook, he's young, he's getting better. The defense is all going, right? I mean, like, what's their hope? What do you have to lean?
Let me stop it right there. The defense is all gone? I mean, Shady, do your job. Do a little research. Put some effort into it. The defense is pretty much the same, if not better at certain points. The defensive line, they're the same starting four from last year. I take away Leonard Floyd, of course, but we've made that even better with some of the depth pieces. We drafted Dwayne Carter. I mean, Javon Solomon, come on, man. That D-line is just better than last year. Yeah. The linebackers, we didn't have Matt Milano. Matt Milano's back. I think somebody said, we don't know what version. Listen, 80% of Matt Milano is 80% better than most than the other linebackers in the league. So the linebacker crew is there. It's better. The corners, same starting corners. Yeah, we lost a few depth pieces. Dean Jackson, Trey White, we love him. Hope he does well, but he really hasn't contributed a whole lot to the Buffalo Bills in the last few years. So we have our starters from last year: Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas, Taron Johnson. Let's not forget TJ. And we got Kyrie Elam. We got some question marks on depth, but listen, Shady. And now you talk about the safeties. Wow. And we got, maybe there. I mean, but we got Taylor Rapp, who got a Super Bowl ring, and he played his role was kind of interesting because he wasn't a starter, but now that he's going to be, I don't have any issues with Taylor Rapp. I think he's going to be a great player for us. And again, he's got a Super Bowl ring. And then you've got who you mentioned earlier, Cole Bishop. All right, we got other guys in Cole Bishop, but I think Edwards. Mike Edwards, but Cole's probably going to be that starter. So Shady McCoy, dude, do your research at least. Come on.
I know. And he's usually like on our side. Like he always is a ride or die with the Bills, especially with Josh Allen. Like he'll take heat for Josh Allen all day. So I was surprised by that take.
Yeah. Basically what he's saying is the entire defense was a Tre'Davious White who hasn't played in 2 years, an old hurt
Miller,
decrepit Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. There's a reason Jordan Poyer signed a 1-year, $2 million deal with a rival team, is because that's the only team that wanted him. So I love those guys, especially Trey. I love all three of them. But like, I don't even want Micah Hyde to come back. Like that's how I feel. I don't even want him to come back. I want him to ride off in the sunset on a good note. And he was healthy at the end, and sure he slowed up, and you could tell. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that you couldn't see a decline from both Hyde and Poyer last year. They were getting beat. They were getting beat left and right like a drum, and you're just like, what is this? What's going on? And I'm not just saying that now because they're not going to be on the team anymore. I mean, Hyde says he might come back, but like Mike said, do your research. You can't bring up Tre'Davious White and then like act like he was a pivotal piece in our team the last 2 years. He played 3 games last year and missed the entire year the year before that. Like what are we talking about? So I don't want to to me it's just it's incredible. It's incredible how these guys can get paid so much money and just talk out of both sides of their mouth. And like, sure, the defense might have some new leaders on it, but like Mike said, I don't really think enough left to put us from a top 10 to a bottom 10.
Yeah.
Sure, we might have a slight regression to the mean for defense, but they're still going to compete and do a good job. Like, that's just crazy.
When
to
you
me.
see comments like this too, I mean, Weston, he knows his Chiefs. He's saying in totality, the Bills might have more depth, at least in the front seven, than the Chiefs right now. Like, that's, I mean, that has to have some weight, at least in my opinion. So love what you said there, Weston. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Yeah.
You
I'm
brought
with you.
something up from Jessica, then it went off the screen real quick. What was her comment?
Yeah. Let's see. So she was talking about Joy. Joy's heart has been ripped out year after year when the Bills have beaten the Dolphins. So she's always going to respect the Bills. Absolutely love it. And then she made another good point here too. She's like, White has been a part-time player for the last 3 years, which is true. Yeah. I mean, he really hasn't been a factor. Like, he was just, and it's sad because he was starting to get back to like where he was, during his all-pro seasons as a Buffalo Bill. And then he had another injury, unfortunately. So, we're going to miss his personality. We're going to miss the leadership, but when it comes down to it, it's a business. And I do think we're better off right now with Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford and some of these other guys.
Yeah.
Well, let's play the rest of this. And by the way, Shady, if you happen to catch us on this one, give us a call. Reach us at nickelcitymafia@gmail.com. And let's have a conversation about how we go about prepping for a show and doing research. Okay. Do a little bit of work, my friend. Bill's roster is value infusion by design, Moneyball by the NFL Bean.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love that, James. I agree. Yeah.
All right, well, let's play the rest of this because we got James Jones jumping in here as well.
Oh, God.
Shortly.
I got to hear his take.
Oh, he's horrible.
Other than Josh Allen. And we know sometimes Josh Allen can get a little wild. Like, he's a great player, but he's going to give you a little, some turnovers a little bit here and there, right? So I just think that next year, they'll be better.
So I respect Josh for this. The ball is in your hand every single play. This is what you should be saying, right? You feel like you're one of the best in the world. You should be saying, man, it's Super Bowl or bust for this team. You should be saying, you're the quarterback. You touch the ball every single play. But it's over. It's over this year. This year. Josh is a franchise quarterback, but this year it's over because just like you guys are saying, you do not have enough to compete with the elite teams in the AFC. And you're just going to be outnumbered. Josh, you usually had help, really good help, all pro help on both sides of the football.
Right.
You do not have that this year. It is going to be all on you, and to me, it's going to be all on you if you can even just will your team to the playoffs. If Josh Allen gets this team to the playoffs, Joy, he should win MVP. Because if they get to the playoffs, that means Josh Allen has went crazy. Because that's the only way they are going to win football games and compete in this league and in that division with the Dolphins and the Jets. He will have to have a really good year. And if he gets them to the playoffs, he should get MVP, and that is a great season for the Buffalo Bills. They should be excited. But Super Bowl,
So guess who's going to go crazy? Guess who's going to go crazy, I guess, this year? That's Josh Allen. So once again, he says we have no help on either sides of the
He's horrible.
Wow, what? James? Seriously? Tell me, Sean. What's he talking about here? Is he not doing his research either?
Apparently not, because like he's really just talking about, again, he's just talking about Diggs and Mike Hyde and Jordan Poyer from 4 years ago or 3 years ago when they got all pro or whatever. They still have guys like Ed Oliver, who should have been an all pro last year. He got robbed because he wasn't a name like Quinnen Williams or Matt Abike, who got 13 sacks. That's the reason why he made it overall. And I did the comparisons. Ed Oliver was a top 2 defensive tackle in the AFC. Should have been in the All Pro discussion, and he wasn't even a second team All Pro. Terrell Bernard had the best stats of any linebacker in the NFL. Didn't get All Pro. Even get it. He might have got second team. I can't remember, but he was better than Fred Warner. Fred Warner got first team All Pro. So there is talent on the defense. There's talent on the offense. Again, we have a top 5 offensive line. Josh Allen is an all pro himself. Sure, James Cook and Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox and all these guys aren't all pros, but like, why do we always give quarterbacks the money? Why do we give quarterbacks the credit? Why do we say quarterbacks win and lose? Because they are essentially the cog of the machine that makes it go. So if Josh Allen is a franchise elite quarterback, like they keep saying, how can you say there's no hope and no talent? And then again, just to go back to it, why do we keep bringing up the Dolphins and the Jets in any conversation that talks about success? The Dolphins had the longest playoff drought in North American sports out of all the major sports. They haven't won a playoff game in 24 years. They've had the best offense for the last 2 years. They had Super Bowl rosters the last 2 years. Some of the best rosters ever constructed for their franchise. haven't even won a playoff game. And then the Jets haven't even been to the playoffs in 15 years, let alone win a playoff game. And then they just all of a sudden get thrusted in there because they have a 40-year-old drug addict that has an Achilles injury. Like what do we have to keep bringing these guys into conversation for? They've done nothing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
They've proven nothing. They've won no division titles, and the Jets still have less division titles than the Colts in the AFC, in the AFC East, and they've been in the AFC East since 1995. So until they do something, let's stop putting them in the conversation with the Bills and their success, and let's stop saying that there's no talent. Because if, again, quarterback gets all the money, quarterback gets all the praise, if we have the best 1, 2, or 3 of those, there's always going to be hope. And people say, we got a great defensive coordinator, head coach guy, Sean McDermott. I don't like him as much as other people do, but he's good at coaching defense. The guys play for him. And we've seen last year, guys step up. Matt Milano went down. Terrell Bernard became an All-Pro. Ed Oliver became an All-Pro. So it's just, to me, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, and then the coaching staff on the Jets is nowhere near what the Bills have. And I mean, I was going to bring this up, but this is just real quick. In our Discord, you mentioned it earlier, Sean. We do have a Discord. If you'd love to join, it's free. We talk sports all week long, 24/7 sometimes. Football, fantasy football. We even have a Chiefs thread in there. We have some good friends now that are Chiefs friends, but we have a thread in there. But
Chad
hey,
and Weston.
we welcome any fan base here. But PFF was posted. There was somebody who posted it in our channel that had the Jets as the second best roster in the AFC. They had the Chiefs, of course, number 1, Jets number 2, and then they had the Texans in there. They had a few other teams. The Bills were number 7, and the Dolphins were number 8. Now, I don't know what PFF is doing. If they've got some additional information that they're not giving me as a subscriber to them, maybe it's time to unsubscribe from them, because we just did a gridiron battle with the Dolphins. We started with the Dolphins, and we had that as a draw. And guess what? They had the Bills at 7 and Dolphins at 8. So I'm okay with that. You got to give the edge to the Bills. Bills have kind of owned the Dolphins in the Josh Allen era. But then you look at where was I going there with that? Oh, the Jets. I should have lost my train of thought there. Somebody just texted me.
I think
so, the PFF. Oh, sorry. We just had a gridiron battle with the Jets. All right. And Jake was representing the Bills. And we had our good friend Anthony from the AFC East Summit representing the Jets. And they went back and forth, position group by position group. And now, unfortunately, PFF doesn't take into account coaching staff, but they did. And in their battle, it was the Jets won by 2 points. Now in PFF, because I was doing the PFF side of things on the scorecard, PFF had that as a differential of 2 to the Jets. So I was okay with that, because on paper, they look better, but they haven't done anything. They're back-to-back 7-win seasons, same coaching staff. And you're going to tell me they're going to jump to a 12 or 14 to a 12 or 14 win team? I'm not. But then where I really had the issue was all the other teams between the Jets and the Bills, 3 through 6. I mean, so if the Bills, according to PFF, the way I saw it, was only 2 points, those other teams better be right there as well with the Jets. So I just don't buy it. I don't know, again, what PFF was doing there or how they were getting that rating, but I subscribe to PFF. Look, I like it as a tool. It's kind of an unbiased, although you say that. Maybe it's not unbiased, because they have people watching and scoring the game. That's what they're supposed to do. Somebody watching the games. And hell, we might have a Chiefs fan watching the Bills games all the time. And they're like, we're going to score them low. I mean, there's some question marks. You look at these scores they gave our offensive line last year, and you're like, dude, what?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Watching.
Right.
Anyhow, that's it on the PFF side. But back to these 2 shows that we talked about. It was a lot of fun to do. Again, it's comical to me. We do take them with a grain of salt, but it just shows, as I said, to start this show, we're doing something wrong, guys. We really should just be having reactions and saying whatever the hell we want about what people have to say, whether it's a player, coach, or GM. And, we'll be
it's just not authentic to me. Like I Chad puts this very well. It's like the Jets have the number 1 media market in the world. They're in New York City.
They're not even in New York City.
They're not. That's the thing. They're not. They're in New Jersey, right?
They benefit from it, though.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot that goes into all that. And like, they know, like, they're doing their jobs. Like, they have to bring in the ratings. So I get it. It makes sense to me. But, you know, as former NFL players, you just wish that there's some of their takes were a little bit more, just had a little more like concrete to them. Cause I feel like they didn't do enough research. Like Mike said, it's like you look at last year's team compared to this year's. And I love what Chad said too. He brought up this point. And he said, you know, he wondered how the Chiefs would be without Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, great player. Chiefs went on to win a Super Bowl without him.
They got better without him, actually.
They did. I mean, Justin Reed, some other guys that they played there at the safety position. It's like, you know, they ended up being okay. So while the Bills have lost a lot of good veteran players, those guys haven't been as much of a factor over the last year and a half as a lot of people have been led on to believe, right? Like, you see the accolades and stuff like that, and I think it's great. But end of the day, this team runs through Josh Allen, and JA-17, the last time I looked, is a top 2 quarterback in the NFL. So that's all you need to know, right?
Yeah, I love our odds. By the way, one of them had mentioned, it was on the speak where they're saying Khalil Shakir being the number one. Maybe he's not that number one guy, but don't sleep on him. He's been ascending year after year, and I expect for him to have another fantastic season. So, I mean, there are weapons for the Bills. There are weapons.
Roy, not an Aaron Rodgers fan. We know Roy is not an Aaron Rodgers guy.
Yeah, he's a moron.
James, not a Jets guy or an Aaron Rodgers guy from what I've been seeing here. So this is great. Yeah,
Jets ownership is to blame. I want to read these because people listen on their phone and they're like,
it's always interesting.
Jets ownership is the main blame. This isn't fantasy football. There's reason certain teams always fail. Emphasize there. And then,
bring up Weston's real quick. I just want to touch on that very quickly.
Which one? This Nick Wright one?
Yes. So,
yeah.
Even when Caleb Williams was in college, Nick Wright was saying that Caleb Williams was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL before taking an NFL snap. And he also came out and said that he could see the Bears being in the Super Bowl this year or in the NFC Championship. So how can you have any credibility and say really, I don't want to say a really mean word, but silly takes like that, but then can always try to tarnish a proven quarterback who's slightly below your beloved quarterback. And that just goes to show it's like it's not about logic and actual intelligence. And I was talking to Mike earlier, and I don't like to say I get triggered, but the reason I'm triggered about stupid talks like this is because you guys know me. Everyone that watches this channel knows me. I'm as unbiased and just always trying to be my thoughts and not favor my team and players on my team and things like that. So when I hear, and I get criticized for it, and when I hear people who get paid a lot more than I do to make takes, not use intelligence or facts to base their claims and arguments, and it's all based on emotions, it's just really aggravating. So that just goes to my point. Like, he says stuff like, "Oh, Caleb Williams is a top 5 quarterback." He's never played a single snap. That's like saying I'm a top 5 quarterback. Like, he's never played in the NFL, or better yet, it's like saying Johnny Manziel was a top 5 quarterback when he got drafted before he played a snap, and that would have been a really stupid take. So it's just stuff like that. Just stuff like that.
Let me read what Weston actually said that you were commenting on. He says, "I have no idea how Nick Wright keeps putting Caleb Williams on the Mahomes mountain." And being high on the Bears, I mean, that makes no sense. So,
completely agree.
How about this one, Sean? Weston saying, "Hey, Sean, maybe we could take an ayahuasca retreat with Aaron Rodgers and Brandon Beane and exchange some Kansas City barbecue and Brooklyn style pizza." That actually sounds really appealing. I'm not gonna lie, Weston. I'm all in. Let's do it, brother.
Well, the funny part is, Weston, Brandon Beane doesn't need any sort of drug to make that kind of a trade. So
did you see this thing? So it talked about like New England being a team that wanted to trade up and take Xavier Worthy. So the Bills wanted to prevent that too.
Yeah, that's really
was another thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I commented in our group chat about that because Brandon Beane himself mentioned when someone asked him, "Why would you trade with the Chiefs?" And and different
he doesn't
words.
care who the other
He
team
said,
is.
"Yeah, he goes, I don't care who. It didn't matter who the team was, or
Right.
if it was the Chiefs, because it mattered about the whatever." And then now it's coming out that
Negated
he
that.
said he didn't want the Patriots to get him. So if you don't care, why would you want? Like, I would rather have the crappy team with the unproven crappy quarterback get the fast receiver than the best quarterback in the league with the best
Yeah.
coach and the best offensive mind in the league. That's just me. But and I can't even imagine that the Patriots offered worse compensation than what the Chiefs offered. Because again, yes, we got a 3rd-round pick out of it, but everyone ignores that we also gave draft capital to the Chiefs to get that deal. So it blows my mind. I can't even imagine what the Patriots offered, if they even offered anything. But it's just, if Brandon Beane really said, oh, I didn't want the Patriots to get him, he's just, again, talking out of both sides of his butt.
Yeah.
Weston says the Bills turned down the Patriots' substantial offer. Do you have some inside details to that? Because I know it has come out that they were on the call with the Patriots, apparently around the same time or at the same time. But you're right, Sean. Like, we got a 3rd rounder. It was the 95th pick or something crazy. Basically, the
4th
second to
round
last pick in the 3rd round. Wasn't that great? It was a little better. But it'd be interesting to see to know what that offer was, because
I
you're
really
right.
don't want to know.
I would have rather them traded with the Patriots. Really, keep your enemies closer.
Yeah.
Division.
Right. Yeah. You're right, Mike. Yeah.
The Patriots probably offered a 1st-round pick, a 2nd-round pick, and next year's 3rd-round pick. And Brandon Beane was
crazy.
like, I only want to do it if I give you 3 more picks also. And they're just like, what?
Well,
We'll
they
never
had
know.
pick 33. So it would have been 33, which we already had anyways, essentially, right?
Did the Patriots have 33?
Yeah, it would have been 33 because it was 32.
Yeah, we got 32.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they
or
wanted
maybe
to
it was
trade
34. I think it was 34 the Patriots had. But anyways, yeah. I mean, we would have moved back a little bit, but yeah, I wonder what that compensation looked like. Interesting.
I'll have to look back.
Yeah.
Did they have a 3rd rounder? And I wonder what, I'm curious if they did. I would think they did.
If you look it up into something good, just don't tell me, because then I'll be.
Well, we won't look it up then. We don't want to trigger. We don't want to trigger you anymore. That's for sure. But
I'll get pretty triggered. Yeah.
Weston, he says, the producers tell Nick Wright to give his biggest Chief spin on every show for ratings. So I think going forward, we'll kind of learn from this, and we'll just start giving our crazy takes on the Jets all season long. We'll be like Jet haters. But Jake, that's going to be on you, because you usually hosting the AFC East Summit with Anthony. You got to trigger him a little bit. Throw some things out there.
You know what? Listen, I don't hate any team out there, but I will say this: like, the hype around that team is insane, considering they haven't won anything substantial and God knows how long, right? Like, at least the Bills have something to hold their hats on, right? So it's like, even what Keith goes back to, it's like, hey, the Bills are still the kings of the AFC East. Like, the Dolphins have not dethroned them yet. So it's until they do, it's like you can't really say anything, right? So I always respect Keith's take on that, but yeah,
I agree. And
always interesting.
I said this to Mike earlier on the phone too. Another reason why, like, it's just kind of annoying to hear, like, oh, the Jets are going to win the division. You guys remember when we finally won a division that one year in 2019? Everybody, when we got all hyped up about it, we were all excited about our team and the future of our team. Every media outlet and other fan base and whatever always said, well, that's only one. You got to do it again. You guys haven't proved nothing. You got lucky. You won a Mickey Mouse division title because Brady's gone. You haven't proven that you could do it. And then, we even 4 years in a row of doing it, we still haven't gained enough respect to continuously get that. Oh, yeah, they're going to win it until, again, that's what they told us. It's the Patriots division, even without Brady, until you knock them off. But now all of a sudden we can just say, oh, yeah, it's the Jets and the Dolphins division. The Bills might get 3rd place. Like, we gotta keep it consistent. If it was like that with us when we were good, and we're still good, but when we were ascending and winning the division titles, I don't want to hear anybody from another team in our division say anything until they win it, and then have to repeat that the next year, because that's what they told us. Oh, it's a fluke for 1 year maybe, so you got to do it twice. So even if we don't win it this year, for that team to get any credit from any other outlet or me or anybody, they got to do it twice, just like we had to. That's all I got to say.
I agree. And you're right, Roy. Yes. So Carolina, because we traded with them.
Yeah.
New England had 34, so it would have been 34 and then something else, and yeah.
So
Yeah,
New
so-
England had a third round 68th overall. You had, if it's true, the Patriots are on the phone, you have to believe we would have at least gotten the 68th pick
They
from
took
them.
Caden Wallace, I think, with that pick.
Caden Wallens, who they got a bad grade from most of the
Yeah.
analysts. So you have to believe that that was part of the offer, at least,
Yeah.
if not even better, but at least that. So that would have been a huge upgrade over what we got from the Chiefs.
That barbecue really enticed them.
No, little funny story, guys. So the company I work for is we are spread out throughout the country, and we're adding a new location in Kansas City.
No way.
And I'm not kidding. And I was like,
That's awesome.
I was joking. I was like, they have a meeting about it, and I was like, or maybe not, allegedly. I'm gonna say allegedly. But yeah, if it was KC, I would love to get out there. I'm like, send me out there. I'll hang some Bills flags and have some of that great barbecue.
Mike, it's funny you say
good.
that. Yeah, so we work with so we do healthcare IT consulting. That's my number one job, right? Then this is the other job. So one of the companies, or I guess softwares that we deal with, is Cerner and Oracle, and they're based in Kansas City. And a lot of the people that we talk to are from Kansas City, so we always talk Bills Chiefs rivalry and all that. So interesting that you mentioned that. So yeah, talk to a lot of Chiefs fans on a daily basis. So I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Hey, Chiefs fans, I gotta say, they're pretty respectful.
great.
I mean, look, we got Chad, we got Weston, two of the best we've met.
Well, we got the good ones over here.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's right. That's
but
right.
even when we've done our gridiron battles, I mean, we've had a lot of Chief fans come watch those, and they're like, most of them are kind, good comments.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as you're real, as long as you're not doing some of these other shady talks that or comments that these other shows are putting out there, you'll be fine. But I don't know. You have to wonder, would we have over 100,000 subscribers if we were like just pushing the envelope? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, we could give it. We could give it a try. We could switch to an all NFL channel, and then when a topic comes up, we'll have a little.
We got to stay true
we'll
to
have
our
a little
roots.
panel.
We will stay true. We will definitely stay true.
Love what Jessica says. The problem is, so both of those guys are super likable. Like, I love Rich Eisen. I love Greeny. I think they're great. But yeah, they're Jets fans. So it's like, exactly.
I will say about them, at least they'll talk about Buffalo and be honest. They're not going to be like, oh, I hate Buffalo. Like all last year, I heard them both defending the Bills and Josh Allen more than anyone else. So like people who can be like Nick Wright hates the Bills and he's a Chiefs fan. He can never be realistic about Buffalo ever.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier last year, even if we did win the Super Bowl last year, he would have been the first person to say, well, it doesn't mean nothing because Mahomes had no receivers, Burrow was hurt, Rodgers was hurt, Lawrence was hurt, and he would have found every single cherry picking way to say it doesn't count, it doesn't matter. So that's for me, that's not how media should be. And like again, like Rich Eisen and Greeny, they will be honest and fair about every team, even if they don't like them or if they're a rival. So that's how it should be done. And then you look at Nick Wright, where it's just like, even with his basketball takes, like I was telling Mike earlier again, he loves LeBron James. He will basically, if you talk about him and Michael Jordan, he'll basically say Michael Jordan, he'll find every way to prove Michael Jordan is not good, even though he was, just so he could prove LeBron is better than him. And that's just how he is. He has favoritism. He feels one way. He uses emotion, not fact, for most of his conversation. And then it's just proof in all of his takes.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I love what James says here. He says, Dolphins are on a similar level of stupid as the Jets. If they pay Tua anything greater than $30 million a year, which I think they're going to have to. I mean, we're all just waiting on that contract to come out. I mean, it's only a matter of time, right?
Yeah.
They just paid Jalen Waddle. I mean, that's, to me, like, everyone freaked out about that contract, but it's like at the end of the day, receivers are getting so much money as it is. I mean, Devontae Smith just got paid too, and he's like in the same category, in my opinion. They're both number two guys. And that also tells me, like, hey, they're ready to commit to Jalen Waddle being that number one guy eventually. because Tyreek Hill is probably done after this next year. So, in my opinion, I don't know.
Yeah, that's for me. Like I was talking with Keith about it. The only reason why I didn't think it was good was because I'm not even certain that Tyreek Hill wants to be done.
Yeah.
Like he's 30 years old, but he, besides Justin Jefferson, he's the second best receiver, but he's like the best playmaker in the league still
Right.
at 30 years
Yeah.
old. So if he went to the Dolphins and said, "I want to be here for 4 more years," they would sign him without hesitation.
They
So
probably would.
so you're going to pay Waddle $30 million a year, Tyreek Hill $35+ million a year, Tua $50 million a year, Jalen Phillips $25 million a year. Like they're going to have to pay these guys. So like that's why I thought it wasn't a great idea, because if again, I've heard from a lot of people Tua is a top 10 quarterback, maybe even top 5. He led the league in passing yards last year, so that means he's one of the best quarterbacks apparently. So why would you pay a receiver over your franchise quarterback? That's the first thing for me. And then again, if Tyreek Hill says, "I want to be on this team for more than 2 more years," I guarantee you they'll sign him.
That makes sense.
Then it gets dicey.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
thinking of all these lefty quarterbacks, Mike. I know you had the conversation with I think it was Keith the other day on their Discord.
Yeah.
I caught up on that and I'm like, man, I want to intervene so fast here. But like it was 3 hours past the conversation. But talking about some left-handed quarterbacks that led the NFL in passing yards, Mark Brunell, Steve Bierlein, like both of those guys had monster seasons. And it's like Mark Brunell was pretty damn good with the Jags.
He was.
Not saying he was a Hall of Fame guy, but he had some really good years. Like that Jags offense was potent. But I would never say he was a top 5 guy. So Sean talking about, Tua leading the league in passing yards, like that's great. I think he's a good player. I'm not going to say he's a top 5 quarterback.
Oh, absolutely.
Same with Steve Bierlein.
Yeah.
Come on. He was a one-year wonder, honestly, with Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed, Roy's out there. Roy's been boycotting the rush hour. I know he's been on the AFC Summit, but we haven't seen Roy on the rush hour.
Roy, great to see you, sir.
So, Roy, what made you come back? We're happy to see you again. Is it we need to go later? Because we love when Roy's on here. Roy's one of the biggest supporter of all channels that I've seen. So thanks for being out there, Roy. We love to have you back.
Our guy.
Amen.
Another name, Scott Mitchell, another lefty. They're all lefties,
I
too.
named all those guys. Kenny Stabler.
I love it.
Put them all out there. I was putting them all out there with him.
It was a great list.
It was fun. It was fun.
And at the end of the day, if you look at who's led the league in passing yards or top 5 in passing yards the last decade, 80% of them aren't good quarterbacks. Like they're not top 5 quarterbacks. Derek Carr.
They were for like maybe a year or two, like Matt Schaub. No offense, Trent Green did it in 2004.
Yeah.
He was a good player, very good player, Pro Bowl quarterback, but he wasn't, he's not Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, right? Like he's not in that category.
Yeah.
So it's all these one-off guys. Yeah.
Yeah, like again, like Derek Carr consistently in the top 5 for passing yards. Never been a top 10 quarterback. Jameis Winston had 5,500 passing or 5,300 passing yards. Was anyone ever saying because he had led in passing yards that he was a top 5 quarterback? Right.
Yeah.
So sure, it's nice. Like I would love if Josh Allen led the league in passing yards, but I want to hear he was the leading guy in touchdowns. He was the leading guy in completion percentage. He was the leading guy in this. Like passing yards to me is like the least important out of any quarterback stat. Like I'm not trying to pile on Tua, but that's an argument that Dolphins fans use that he led the league in passing, so it means he's elite. I don't agree, but they paid. Chris Greer's telling you what he thinks. He paid a receiver before his franchise quarterback.
Yep.
And from what I heard from my friends in Dolphin land, Tua fired his representation. I don't remember when he did it, but now he's with a group called Athletes First.
Yes.
And their goal is to get the highest paid at every position and reset the market. So Tua's, everyone thought Tua would be that guy who wasn't concerned about the money and just wants to be, a Dolphin. But firing his representation and going with hard hitters like Athletes First, he wants the big contract. So it'll be interesting what happens there.
Oh, we caught up. So Roy says his work hours changed, so that's what's kept him away. Let's answer Jessica's question here. I'll throw it to you first, Jake. Do you think Bean might extend Allen this summer?
I don't know. That's hard to say just because he's still like in the middle of that contract that he already signed. But I mean, if this is the guy, right? So we're hoping he stays here for the entirety of his career. So nothing would really surprise me. Like if we did it, it wouldn't be out of the blue, in my opinion. But what would that number look like? That's the real question. Like that would have to be something high, but maybe you need to appease him too because he's like the 10th highest paid quarterback in the NFL and he's a top 2 quarterback in the league, right? So match
you
it up.
have to. I mean, if you're seeing all these other quarterbacks getting bigger paydays now, you're gonna have to do something. I don't know when though. Sean, you have any thoughts on when?
But I wouldn't do it this year. Like I said, I don't. I know he's got his money just started to hit now, so I would wait just a little bit, eat some of it because, like I said, if we keep doing the pushing the contract and extending and not eating the money, we're gonna have to eat it at like the worst possible time. And when he's out of his prime and or coming near the tail end of his career, his contract, so eat a few of the bad years, extend them, and then you can push it out, and then you'll be able to sign guys and build a great, continue to build a great team. So I just wait a little bit, maybe another. We'll see how it goes next year. Take a look at the contract. I know he's got at least 3, so maybe after the second. But we'll see. Weirder things have happened. But Roy mentioned his Tua playing on his 5th year. They did give him his 5th year,
yes,
I believe. So regardless, he's making $23 million this year. Excuse me, off of the 5th year. So we'll see. I'm anticipating probably a 4-year extension for Tua. I don't know money. I don't know guaranteed, but I'm assuming a 4-year extension. But they might want to say, let's take the gamble. Let's make a play in his 5th year. If he blows up, we were going to pay him. We're going to pay him a few more million than we would have anyway. So they might just want to see it again.
Yeah,
which I'm not against that.
What's Mahomes getting paid right now? And he just
he's on a monster deal. I know they've been so I do want to pull up the Josh Allen one here too. So this year he's owed $30 million. Next year it'll be $60 million. And then there's a potential out. Yeah, potential out in 2026. But then the next 3 years it's like 56 million, 49 million, 45 million, and then in 2029 he's a UFA, unrestricted free agent. So
you don't want to pay him $60 million.
It's a lot of money, yeah. But I mean, that's probably not out of the realm of possibility. If we were to extend them, that'd probably be around what the deal would be.
We'll have to extend them for 20 years to make it.
Yeah,
the Bobby Bonilla
over 20 years we'll pay him.
Yeah,
yeah. It's inevitable. You're gonna have to eat it sometimes. So they gotta strategically do it. And again, we don't know what they think and all their finances and who's going to be being on the team in the future or not. But that all comes into play of that kind of contract. Because that's what the Cowboys are going. They're about to pay Dak $60-something million this coming year, because of how the contract went. So, like the Chiefs did it right. 10 years, $450 million. You can. It's only 45. If he gets the whole entire contract, $45 million a year for 10 years. But they can make it so it's like, oh, he gets $10 million this year, and he gets $50 million, then he gets $30 million, so they can literally do whatever they want.
And it's long term. I mean, so Josh's was 6 years, $258 million. Pat Mahomes, 10 years. That's a long term contract. So they definitely did it right there. That was a great job there. Wow.
And just put it in perspective. You could argue they're the 2 best quarterbacks, and they're both not even top 5 and guaranteed money.
Yeah,
so
it's insane.
That just shows how that's what they look for. They look for 0.1% more guaranteed than the last guy that got paid. So that's what probably Tua is looking for. I think who's the highest guaranteed pay right now? Is it Lamar or is it Goff?
I think Goff is second. I think Lamar might be number 1 still.
Yeah, it's like 52.1 or something.
Yeah,
Tua probably wants 52.2. Fully guaranteed every year. So
Joey Burrow's not far behind too.
Yep.
I will say something though, like Josh. To go back to Jessica's question, you have to think Josh's camp is asking for that sooner than later. Heaven forbid. I mean, again, you got to be concerned about an injury. Fortunately, he's not. He's been pretty healthy, but you have to be concerned about that as a player. So I have to think his camp is working on that deal sooner than later. So
For
maybe
sure.
maybe this year for sure.
The only thing
Um,
I can hope for, or guys like even Mahomes and Allen, is they probably make more off of all their non-football stuff. So like the commercials, the sponsorships, clothing
the Madden.
deals, the Madden,
Yep. Oh yeah.
whatever. So you'd like to think guys like Mahomes and Allen can just make their living off of that and be like, oh, you know what? I don't care if I'm better than 90% of the quarterbacks that just got paid more than me. I want to stay at like a fair price, between 40 and 50 million every year. But because I'm making enough, he's absolutely making over $300 million probably just on random stuff.
Oh
so
yeah.
so they're living fine. They're the most popular guys in the league. So you like to think that, yeah, sure, he deserves more money, but maybe he'll be like, you know what? I want to be competitive constantly. I already get a ton of money. So what's for me, if I get paid 45 million by the Bills or 55 million, I'm still getting like 300 plus million from outside sources. So let's just keep building a team and keep being competitive.
We can hope that he thinks like that. We can hope,
Yep.
but I mean, if that's you in that situation, you're probably saying the more the merrier for your family long term. But James, it's a good question here. So
Yeah.
I think personally, and I'll let the other guys answer. I would like another DB at depth, right? I would like that, or some type of O line depth. Now, what I did hear Bean say, I actually heard him interviewed or in a press conference, and he was asked about this when the money frees up. What would he do? He said a lot of that's going to be used to pay for the draft choices. So I don't know how much more of that. If it is a guy we're going to go after, it's probably a 1 year, $2 million contract. Somebody, I don't know if I haven't looked. I don't know if any decent DBs were released after June 1st. Did anyone see any?
Xavier Howard.
Yeah, Xavier Howard, Stephon Gilmore, even.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think Adoree Jackson, he's still available too. Like he would be a solid option. He's slightly younger too.
Any of those you think we
Steven
can
Nelson.
get for a couple mil?
Yeah, I do. I definitely think so. Yeah.
Okay. Then there you go. I would say DB would be nice, James. Maybe with one of those guys that got cut.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I just pulled this up, like average salary. So Joe Burrow, the average amount per year is 55 million for him. So he's actually at the highest. Jared Goff 53, Justin Herbert 52.5, Lamar 52. It's crazy. Yeah, you look at like Pat Mahomes.
Or just average.
That's just the average. So it factors in like everything. Yeah,
I think Watson was the most fully guaranteed at 46 million. But Burrow's the highest, just average. But because Watson's was 230, I think, fully guaranteed.
Yes.
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm with Mike. I would go with like I said, if you can get Xavier Howard. I know he got he got cooked the last couple years in Miami, but he's that veteran guy, and if he doesn't win a starting job, Xavier Howard as your cornerback 3 or 4, like that's solid, and he's still getting paid by Miami a little bit. He got I think when they released him, they got like $15 million back. Plus he gets paid a little bit because I think he had some guaranteed money. I can't remember. So he might be like, you know what? I'll sign a 1 year, $2-3 million deal. It was incentive based. Why not? And then maybe
if you don't want to, like, you could muddy the safety room a little bit. Like Justin Simmons is still available, which is insane. Like Quandre Diggs, another guy.
Is he really? Quandre Diggs is available?
Yeah, like it's actually like Jamal Adams is still available too. I don't know if he's the right guy either, but like some really good veteran players. And of course Micah Hyde,
Yeah, and to what Jessica said, that was my other avenue. Was I think he's just going to keep it, just to have money, and then if you have to sign someone or get someone at the trade deadline because of injuries, and then he says, oh, we got to pay rookies. He's again another lie through his teeth because he purposely drafted Keon Coleman in the second round, so he didn't have to pay him the first round salary to save a little bit of cheddar. So,
Yeah.
I think I forgot who mentioned it, but some other Bills creator mentioned with all the rookies that we have to pay, it's only going to equal like $2 million. So that 10 million, it could definitely be used for something, but I'm kind of leaning with he's probably going to keep it, for safekeeping. But I wouldn't mind getting a guy like Xavier Howard.
Yeah, especially if we get him for just a couple mil. So either way, hopefully that answers your question. James Gilmore burnt his bridge back to Buffalo too. But Jake, I mean, we talked about Gilmore not that long ago, and you were okay with him coming back.
Yeah, I mean, numbers. I mean, he still played at a pretty high level, in my opinion. Like last season, he was with Dallas. He was with Indy before that. Pro Bowler 2 years ago in Carolina. Like he's been bouncing around a little bit over the last few years, but like he could still play at a pretty high level. So if it's for a vet, I mean, it won't be a vet minimum deal, but it'll still be, relatively low price in my opinion. I mean, he's going to be like 34 years old this year. So to get a veteran guy like that, I think that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But yeah, he did. I mean, his exit in Buffalo was rough, but you got to think too, this is back in 2016? So this is back in the Rex Ryan days. So totally different management.
Everyone deserves a second chance, man.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind him. Roy, that's a good point too. Yeah. So when Bean was talking about that, he said not only for the draft picks, but the practice squad guys as well. So that 10 million gets eaten up pretty quickly.
For sure. Yeah.
And Chad says of the top 5, none have won a Super Bowl and like 14 total playoff wins. This is a lot of money for not a lot of success in the playoffs. What's he of the top 5? What are we talking about there?
So he was saying of the top 5, like, paid quarterbacks. Yeah, that's a good point, Chad. Yeah. Very true.
Definitely.
Yep.
So, guys, I mean, we've been going for an hour and 41. Love it. It was a lot of fun. If you're out there on the channel, I always forget to say this, but please like, comment, drop a nickel on that subscribe button for us. We greatly appreciate it. I did have one correction, or I want you to clarify something, Jake. When we were talking left-handed quarterbacks,
yes.
I think I heard you throw the name Steve Berline out there.
Was he lefty or no?
He was not lefty.
He was not a lefty.
So I need you to get down and do 10 push-ups right now, or 20 push-ups, because he's like when you said that. I've seen Steve play, and I'm like, he's not left-handed. So I look it up.
Steve Berline.
He's not left-handed, my friend.
Yeah, that's on me. My fault.
We like to try to correct information beforehand. Otherwise, we got to pin it when we rewatch it. We're like,
he is a righty.
Dang it.
Yeah,
I just say
that's my fault. Scott Mitchell, though, was a lefty.
Scott Mitchell was.
Scott Mitchell was a lefty. Yes.
Darn good lefty.
Yep.
Let's see here.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's kind of it, guys. I mean, let's wrap it up. It was a lot of fun. So it just goes to show you, I think it's entertaining to kind of listen to how these other big media outlets, what they're saying. Again, I find it comical. Some people are triggered by it, but take them with a grain of salt. Nobody knows the Buffalo Bills like the Bills Mafia. So Shady, all those guys, do a little more research, but I'm sure, like most people have said, it's your producer. Your producer's telling you what to say. And of course, that's gonna get them all the clicks and everything that they're looking for. So
yep. So Chad, Bernie Kosar was a righty.
Yeah, he was
Jessica,
a righty.
Yes, the best lefty of all time is Steve Young.
Tim Tebow was the lefty too. He was great.
Yeah, I know he's
yes. Yeah, but Bernie Kosar was a righty.
Ken
How
Stabler.
did I mess up the Steve Berline thing? I don't know what I was
forgetting
thinking
about
there.
Ken Stabler. I mean, this is great.
Kenny
Won a
Stabler.
Super Bowl with the Raiders, played with John Madden, great quarterback. Way back in the
I
day.
think I'd put Steve Young over him, but Kenny Stabler, I mean, obviously a Hall of Famer
Yeah,
too.
Steve Young brought the whole new dimension. I mean, he had the running game.
Yeah.
He could run, he could throw. Yeah, he was special, no doubt. I would say he's probably the top lefty.
Yeah.
But people seem to leave out Stabler. I'm like, go back a little bit further.
I know it.
Go back a little
What
bit
about
further.
Bart Starr?
Bart Starr was a righty.
He was a righty.
Great name. I love that, Sean.
Mike
Vick.
Yeah, of course,
Michael
Mike
Vick.
Vick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Great
Electric.
runner, but not the most accurate passer. Could throw the ball a mile, but
it's always what could have been with Michael Vick. It's like, he had 2 portions of his career, obviously. That 1 year in Philly, he was insane.
Which
And
one
then
did Chad
obviously
miss?
with
Which one
Atlanta.
did Chad miss? Did he say he needs to do 20 push-ups?
He was saying Bernie Kosar. Yeah.
Oh, Bernie Kosar.
Chad, yeah. So listen, I'm doing 10 for Steve Bierlein. That's a tough look by me. Patrick Jeffries, Steve Bierlein, like that team was electric. Musa Muhammad, Tim Biakabatuka, running back, Wesley Walls.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
even get me started.
We mentioned Tim Tebow. I forget I was having a conversation with Keith. I forget what he said in the Discord. Something about Tim Tebow. I wish I remember.
Keith also said he was.
Oh, we
gonna
got a
listen
Mets
tonight.
jersey.
Oh, okay.
Mets jersey of Tim Tebow. That's what it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, but hey, Tim Tebow got a playoff win. I mean, that was the craziest, right? He started, and his numbers, dude, like every game, because they had a really good defense. His numbers were like 3 of 30. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but
yeah,
his completion percentage was nuts. But yet, you know what? He has a playoff win.
Isn't it wild? Tim Tebow and Daniel Jones have more playoff wins than the Dolphins do in the last 25 years.
Oh, that's awesome. Jim Zorn, good name, Roy.
Yeah,
Jim Zorn.
I threw Zorn out there in our Discord there for sure with Seattle
and
back in the days.
Boomer was an MVP, man. He was
Boomer
good.
Boomer was.
Yeah.
Another one of those quarterbacks that should have won a Super Bowl that never did.
No,
he had a shot.
No, he's good without one. He's a stinky poop head.
I'm okay with Boomer, but yeah, that game against
Boomer was a good player.
The Niners, the Super Bowl was a fantastic game. It's a close one.
Jim Zorn, him and Steve Largent, man, like that was a combo.
Yeah.
Steve Largent, he was actually the all-time NFL receptions leader as of like 1985. Then Jerry Rice just broke every single receiving record of all time. And no one's touching his career records, but yeah.
Broncos have been cursed, of course. I mean,
yeah.
You let go Tim Tebow, you're asking for trouble.
Oh, well, you know what? That's not true, Weston, because they did win a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, 2015.
Did they after Tebow?
He could barely even grip the football, but yes.
I just want to remind everyone again.
Yes.
We all of our teams passed on Cooper Kupp.
I know, man.
Sean, you love the Bengals fan base?
Oh yeah, they were voted most loyal fan base last year by some outlet. I forgot, and then I remembered I had a picture on my phone of the stadium in 2019. It was either 18 or 19 when they were 2-14 or whatever. It wasn't even half. It wasn't even half full. So it's pretty loyal. You know what's crazy? It's just if Burrow never tore his ACL, they never would have got Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And then they might.
That's kind of crazy.
And then they wouldn't have been because I mean, they went 2-14 that year. After they went 2-14 to get Burrow, they already had Higgins the year before. Then Burrow tore his ACL. 2-14, they got Chase, and then that's when it all started.
Yeah.
But
that's pretty
crazy.
Wild. Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't like that trade off, but if it was my team, but they lucked into that.
Love this name, Tower Pelko. Chad, love that. Bringing a Mizzou guy up. Play with the Saints for a hot second. Tower Pelko. Great name.
What position did he play?
He was a quarterback. He was a lefty.
Was he?
Yep. Tower
Well,
Pelko.
now the NFL has two of the best lefties ever play in Tua, and then Michael Tagovailoa as well.
All right. Well, that's a lot of fun, guys. We're gonna wrap it up.
He was a Pitt guy, Tower Pelko.
We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here.
Play with Kansas City.
I said the wife always asked me, "What's it going to be? An hour and a half?" I said, "Hour and a half at the most, maybe an hour." We never hit an hour, but here we are, an hour and 48 minutes into the show, which is normal for us. Thank you all for joining us tonight. It's fantastic. Love the support you guys bring. We have some shows coming up this week. We got the AFC East Summit. I think, are you guys back on the docket?
We're back. Yes, we are back.
Cool. That's Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Right.
And then we also have fantasy football guys are coming back with the rookie show. They're going to be, I think it's either going to go tomorrow or later in the week. So keep an eye out for that. If you're in the fantasy football, check out Chris and Jeremy. They're going to cover all the rookies that were drafted and kind of give you their takes on if you should take them or not, or where you should take them. So that should be a fun show. Got the Red, White, and Ruthless every Saturday. They were back last night. They go live every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, Jake and I will be back next week we'll probably get the Gridiron Battle. So the Gridiron Battle series has been fun. We had 2 of them. We had last week with the Jets, but after the Bills lost that one, they needed a little more time for recovery to get back in the ring again. So giving them a week off from the Gridiron Battle. We're going to be talking to Weston and Chad because the Chiefs are on the radar for us, and the Texans and the Ravens, of course. Those are the 3 that we're going to be having. So that'll be coming back. But again, it just felt like a good time to take a break from the Gridiron Battle and talk about some of this entertaining stuff. So everyone, have a good time. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. Thanks again. Go Bills.
Go Bills.